It was just another Friday afternoon when LaShonda kissed her daughter, Nia, goodbye before she left for work. The weather was warm, the kind of summer day that made the streets shimmer with heat. Nia, only 4 years old, was in the living room with her toys, content with her little world of stuffed animals and dolls. LaShonda had always promised herself that, despite the challenges she faced, she would do everything in her power to be the kind of mother Nia needed. She had her flaws, no doubt, but her daughter was the light of her life. Nothing could come between them. LaShonda's shift at the diner was long and tiring. She had to juggle demanding customers, a tired staff, and the constant hum of noise in the background. But Nia was always in her mind. She thought about the plans they had made for the weekend, a trip to the park, ice cream afterward, maybe a movie. They were little things, but in LaShonda's world, they meant everything. By the time she got off work and pulled into the parking lot, something in the pit of her stomach felt off. She couldn't explain it, but the familiar unease nagged at her. She walked into the apartment, calling out for Nia, expecting to hear her daughter's giggles echoing from the hallway, the familiar "Mommy" she always greeted her with. But there was nothing. The apartment was eerily silent. Nia wasn't in her room. She wasn't in the living room, where LaShonda left her before she left for work. And her purse, Nia's pink backpack, was gone. That sick feeling in LaShonda's gut tightened. The silence was suffocating, and it only took a few moments for the panic to set in. She grabbed her phone and dialed her mother's number. "Mom. Where's Nia? Have you seen her?" LaShonda's voice shook as she spoke. Her mother's response came quickly but with a tinge of confusion. "I thought she was with you. She wasn't at my place. Did you leave her with someone?" LaShonda's heart began to race. She dropped the phone on the kitchen counter and rushed out of the apartment, hoping against hope that she would find her daughter on the stairs or playing outside, as she often did when LaShonda wasn't home. But the neighborhood was empty. No children playing. No voices or laughter. Just the harsh hum of streetlights and the oppressive weight of a night that felt too quiet. LaShonda couldn't understand what was happening. She called the police, her voice trembling as she explained that Nia was missing, and despite her best attempts, no one had seen anything. No one had heard anything. The officers assured her they would begin an immediate search, but in her heart, LaShonda knew something was wrong. Something was very wrong. The next few hours blurred into a haze of desperation, questions, and false hopes. LaShonda ran to all the familiar places, the local park, the grocery store, the corner bodega. No sign of Nia. She called every number in her phone, friends, family, neighbors, but all to no avail. LaShonda's mind raced as the hours ticked on. Where was her daughter? But as the clock continued to tick, LaShonda realized she was up against something darker, something she never imagined. The next morning, the police had found something. A blurry surveillance video from a neighbor's security camera showed Nia walking hand in hand with a woman LaShonda didn't recognize. The footage wasn't clear enough to identify the woman, but it was disturbing enough. The woman and Nia were walking toward a white van parked across the street. It was just a fleeting moment in the footage, but it was enough to send chills down LaShonda's spine. "Do you recognize her?" Detective Harris asked, showing LaShonda the video. LaShonda shook her head slowly, her mind spinning. "I don't know her. I've never seen her before." The detective's face hardened. "We're going to need to speak to everyone you know, LaShonda. This woman is key to finding your daughter." But who could it be? LaShonda had no idea who would hurt her precious Nia. She had done everything to protect her daughter from harm, especially from the darkness that lurked in her own past, bad relationships, unhealthy people, mistakes she had made. She couldn't fathom who could want to harm her baby. Then the name came to her. The name she had tried to push to the back of her mind, the one person she had kept at arm's length for years, her sister, Keisha. Keisha had always been a loose cannon. She'd had her own struggles with addiction and a string of bad choices that led her down a dangerous path. Their relationship had been strained for years. LaShonda had tried to protect Nia from the toxicity that Keisha brought into her life. She hadn't seen her sister in months, but the last time they spoke, things had been tense, to say the least. Could Keisha be involved? Could her sister have done something like this? LaShonda tried to brush the thought aside. Surely not. But the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. Keisha had always been reckless, always taking advantage of people who cared about her. LaShonda tried to block out the ugly truth, but it clawed at her, relentless. The investigation into Keisha was swift. When the police interviewed her, she initially denied any involvement, claiming she hadn't seen LaShonda or Nia in weeks. But as the days went on, her story began to change. Small inconsistencies, too many to ignore, began to surface. The police dug deeper into Keisha's recent history. They learned that Keisha had been hanging around with people from her past, people with criminal records. And one of them, a man named Darnell, had been known to dabble in illegal activities. Then came the breaking point. A neighbor, who had seen the van parked on their street the night Nia went missing, recognized Keisha's voice as she had argued with someone near the van. The pieces were starting to fall into place. LaShonda couldn't breathe. The fear and anger she had been holding inside for so long now consumed her. Her own sister, someone she had loved and protected for years, had betrayed her daughter. The police were relentless, pulling records, searching for anything that could help them solve the case. And soon enough, they found what they were looking for, a phone call between Keisha and Darnell, talking about disposing of the kid and how it had to be done. LaShonda's world shattered. She couldn't breathe. Her sister, the person she had once called family, had taken everything from her. And there was no coming back from that. The trial was a blur, a nightmare LaShonda had to relive. Her sister, the woman who had once been so close to her, was sitting in the defendant's chair, looking nothing like the person LaShonda had once known. Keisha's defense was weak, claiming that she had been coerced into it by Darnell, that she hadn't meant to go through with it, but the evidence was overwhelming. The tapes, the messages, the testimony from witnesses, it all pointed to Keisha. There was no question of her involvement. It took the jury only a few hours to deliberate. The verdict was clear, guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping. Keisha was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. As LaShonda stood in the courtroom that day, listening to the sentence being read, she couldn't help but wonder if justice had truly been served. It would never bring Nia back. No amount of time behind bars could ever erase the pain she felt. But at least now, LaShonda knew the truth. Her sister was never going to hurt anyone again. The road to healing would be long and painful, but LaShonda knew she had to keep going. For Nia. For herself. She walked out of the courthouse, the cool air hitting her face, and she knew that, somehow, some way, she would keep her daughter's memory alive. Nia would never be forgotten. What do you think about this tragedy? How could LaShonda have missed the signs? Was Keisha always this dangerous, or was there something that pushed her to do this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more true crime stories like this one, please give this video a like, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for listening to LaShonda's story, and remember, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most.